I remained there in the driveway for a long moment, the evening shadows stretching around me. My chest ached with something more painful than the stitch in my side. It was heartbreak, raw and bitter. I had given that race everything, and I'd failed. Worse, I felt like I had proven all the naysayers right. Dad, my classmates, maybe even the voice of doubt inside me. By the time I trudged indoors, Dad had planted himself in front of the TV with his dinner, as if nothing noteworthy had happened that day. I slipped down the hall to my room, my head low. That night, I hit rock bottom. I tossed my dirty, torn spikes in the corner and collapsed onto my bed, still in my sweat-stained clothes. The humiliation and disappointment came crashing down. Quiet sobs racked my body as I pressed my face into the pillow, trying to smother the sound. I was grateful my room was far from the living room. The last thing I wanted was for Dad to hear me crying like a defeated little kid. In the darkness behind my eyelids, I saw the faces of everyone who'd ever doubted me. I heard their laughter, their "I told you so's," and for the first time, I couldn't muster any argument against them. Maybe I really am a fool, I thought. Maybe this dream died with Mum. My eyes fell on the old blue ribbon on my wall, now just a shadowy silhouette in the dark. Hot anger flared in my chest. Anger at myself for believing I was special. Anger at that ribbon for ever making me feel like a winner. In a surge of frustration, I nearly ripped that ribbon in two. But I couldn't do it. Instead, I clutched it to my heart, curling up around it as if it were the last person in the world who still believed in me. I cried until I had nothing left. At some point, exhaustion dragged me into a dreamless sleep. I woke in the dead of night, my eyes swollen and head throbbing. The house was silent. I felt hollowed out, like I had shed every emotion and was left with an aching emptiness. In that fragile moment, I decided I was done. Done with the early mornings and the late-night hopes. Done trying to prove anything to anyone. Quitting would hurt less than feeling this way again. I took a deep, shuddering breath and resolved that at sunrise I would tell Dad he was right. I'd let go of this foolish dream. Before dawn, I found myself unable to sleep, staring at the ceiling. My body was sore, but it was my spirit that felt truly broken. To distract myself, I reached for an old box in my closet that held some of Mum's keepsakes. Amid the sympathy cards and photos, Mum's leather-bound journal caught my eye. She used to write in it almost every day. I flipped it open, and a photograph fluttered out onto my lap. It was a picture of 9-year-old me, gap-toothed and beaming, holding up my blue ribbon on field day. Mum knelt beside me in the shot, arms wrapped around me, and pride radiating from her smile. With trembling fingers, I turned the photo over. Mom's neat handwriting covered the back. Alex, my little champion. First of many wins to come, I promise. Tears blurred the words. I clutched that photo to my chest, feeling Mom's love pour out from the past. First of many. She believed it, even when I was just a kid racing on a grade school field. She had never doubted me. A new feeling welled up inside, a mix of grief, love, and a defiant spark of determination. I realized that if I quit now, I wouldn't just be letting myself down. I'd be breaking the promise I made to Mom. I wasn't done yet. In that dark, quiet moment, a decision crystallized. I would give this dream one more chance, and I would give it everything I had. The very next morning, I stepped outside just as the sun peeked over the horizon, painting the sky in hues of sherbet orange and pink. The cool dawn air felt like a jolt to my senses. My muscles still protested from yesterday's punishment, and my knees were scabbed over. But none of that mattered. I tightened the laces on my worn sneakers. The promise I'd made, to Mom and to myself, blazed brighter than the pain. If I was going to chase this dream, I had to truly chase it now, with single-minded focus and zero excuses. I started running. Not the half-hearted jogs I'd done in the past, but a purposeful run with fire in each step. My body was heavy with fatigue and bruises, but I willed it to move. Each stride became a statement. I'm not giving up. As I fell into a rhythm, something incredible happened. I felt hope stirring again. Faint, but real. I replayed Mom's words in my mind on a loop. First of many, I promise. She had believed my first win was just the beginning. I was determined to make that true. That day marked the beginning of a transformation. I knew raw effort wasn't enough. I needed a smarter approach, so when I wasn't running, I was studying. I devoured every book and website I could find on training techniques, nutrition, stretching, you name it. I learned about interval runs and proper pacing. Mornings that summer, you'd find me doing sprints up the hill by our barn until I collapsed. Afternoons, I'd be poring over training plans in the library, figuring out how to build endurance. Bit by bit, I crafted my own regimen. It was like I became my own coach, one who demanded more from me than anyone else ever had. Over the weeks, I started noticing changes. The first time I managed to run an extra mile without stopping, I actually whooped out loud in an empty field. My legs grew stronger, more muscular than I'd ever seen them. My breathing steadied. The burning in my lungs eased as my stamina grew. With each small victory, running a faster split time, conquering a steep hill, collapsing on the grass utterly spent but satisfied, I felt confidence cautiously unfurl inside me. I kept my training mostly secret. Dad was vaguely aware I still ran, but since I balanced my chores and kept my head down, he didn't interfere much. By spring, I decided to try out for our school's track team. Coach never expected much from me, but in the timed mile trial, I stunned everyone by finishing in first place. I earned a spot on the team easily, and word of my performance spread through the school hallways. For the first time, people spoke about me with respect instead of ridicule. Still, I knew the real test was yet to come. The state championship loomed ahead like a distant peak, and I was determined to conquer it. The day of the state championship arrived on a sweltering afternoon in late May. The sun hung high in a bleached cobalt sky, baking the track until it wavered in the heat. This was the stage I had dreamed of, sweated for, and obsessed over. Thanks to months of meets and a hard-fought personal record at regionals, I'd earned my lane in the 1600-meter final. I was officially one of the fastest milers in the state, on paper at least. Standing there now, though, I felt like that jittery kid at the regional meet all over again. My heart hammered against my ribs as I surveyed the crowd packed into the stands. Somewhere up there, I knew, were a few faces from my town and school. People who never believed I'd get this far were here to watch me either triumph or fail spectacularly. I wiped a trickle of sweat from my brow and walked to the starting line with the other finalists, 8 of us in total. To my left stood the state record holder, a tall, lean senior with a jaw set like stone. To my right was another fierce competitor, bouncing on her toes in focus. This is it, I thought as I settled into my lane. I bounced once on my toes and shook out my arms, trying to release the tension coiled in my muscles. In the stands, I caught a glimpse of Dad. He had actually come. He was sitting up near the middle, leaning forward, his hands clasped tightly. My throat tightened at the sight. Dad noticed me looking and raised his hand in an awkward little wave. I gave a small nod in return and drew a deep breath, swallowing the lump in my throat. For the first time, I saw worry and hope on his face instead of doubt. The starter raised his pistol, and time seemed to slow for a split second. This is my one shot, I thought. Make it count. Crack! The gunshot split the air, and 8 runners sprang forward in near unison. I launched myself off the line with every ounce of power I had. We exploded around the first curve, and the stadium noise fell away to the roar of wind in my ears and the pounding of my heart. I settled in behind the leaders on the first lap, legs churning under me like well-oiled pistons. Adrenaline coursed through my veins, but I kept a grip on it. Stay steady, stay smart, I reminded myself. By lap 2, the pack had thinned. I was holding a strong 3rd place, tucked just behind the 2 favorites. They exchanged quick glances, perhaps surprised I was still right there with them. Sweat poured down my face, and I could taste the tang of metal in my mouth, but I refused to fall back. By the final lap, the race had narrowed to just me and the record holder running shoulder to shoulder, with the others a few strides behind. The crowd was on its feet, a thunderous blur of sound. My whole body screamed with exertion, thighs burning, lungs desperate, but I embraced the pain. It was going to hurt whether I was in first or last. Might as well hurt in the lead. Coming around the final bend, he tried to pull away. For a split second, he edged ahead a few tantalizing inches. A flash of all my failures threatened to surface, but I pushed it down. Not today. I willed my legs to turn over faster, matching him stride for stride. 100 meters to go. The finish line loomed, and time warped oddly. Each second felt both lightning fast and slow as molasses. My rival and I were dead even, sprinting with everything we had left. The whole stadium seemed to be roaring in one unified voice. I could see the breaking form in his strides, the tiniest stumble in his rhythm. So I dug deeper. With a guttural groan, I surged one last time. My heart felt like it burst into flames as I threw myself over the finish line, chest out. For a moment, I honestly didn't know who won. I nearly collapsed, catching myself with wobbly knees as I looked to the officials on the sidelines. Then, through the ringing in my ears, I heard the announcer's voice boom over the loudspeaker. "And your state champion is Alex Mason from Oak Ridge High." A shockwave of realization hit me. I had won. I did it. I did it first. The stadium erupted. But in that moment, I only searched for one face. Then I saw him. Dad was pushing his way down from the stands, eyes wide and wet. Before I knew it, his arms were around me. Dad hugged me, really hugged me, for the first time in years. I could feel him trembling. "I'm so proud of you, Alex," he choked out, his voice thick with emotion. I held on to him, my sweat and tears soaking into his shirt, not caring one bit. I was sobbing and laughing all at once. "I'm sorry," Dad murmured, pulling back just enough to look me in the eyes. There were actual tears on his weathered cheeks. "I'm sorry I didn't believe in you." A strangled laugh of relief escaped me as I wiped my face with the back of my hand. "It's okay, Dad," I managed to say, my voice shaking. In that instant, every moment of pain and doubt was worth it. Dad's proud smile was everything I had ever wanted. "Mom would be so proud of you," he added softly. A warm swell of joy and sadness flooded through me, and I nodded, unable to speak as a new wave of tears blurred my vision. I knew she was proud. I could feel it. They soon ushered me toward the podium for the medal ceremony. I climbed up to that highest spot, legs still unsteady. When the announcer placed the gold medal around my neck, I closed my eyes for a second. The metal was cool and solid against my chest. I thought of all those times I'd touched the blue ribbon on my wall for inspiration. This moment felt like stepping into my own daydream, except it was real. I caught myself scanning the crowd, where I spotted my classmates, teachers, even the skeptics from my town who'd come to watch. Many of them were on their feet, cheering and clapping with genuine excitement. As I stepped down from the podium, a swarm of people pressed in to congratulate me. My teammates patted my back, whooping in celebration. Competitors, some still catching their breath, offered handshakes and respectful nods. Coach found me in the chaos and grinned, saying, "That was one hell of a race, kid." The reporters were shouting questions, cameras trained on me, but I barely heard them. Through the crowd, I saw Dad waiting patiently just beyond, a proud smile plastered on his face. I beamed back at him. On the car ride home, Dad couldn't stop talking. His normally reserved demeanor was replaced by giddy excitement as he relived the race in detail. "When you pulled ahead in that last stretch, oh my God," he kept saying, shaking his head in disbelief. I sat in the passenger seat, the gold medal in my lap, just basking in his praise and enthusiasm. I offered my own perspective of those final moments, and Dad hung on to every word like it was the most fascinating story he'd ever heard. It felt surreal, chatting with him about running and having him actually value what I said. At one point, he and his tone grew more serious. "I realize now I almost made you give up something you love," he admitted quietly. "I was wrong, and I'm sorry, son." I looked at him, this man who I'd been at odds with for so long, and all I saw was my father who truly cared in his own way. "It's okay, Dad," I replied softly. Maybe I had to believe in myself first, before anyone else could. He nodded, eyes shining as he reached over to squeeze my shoulder. That night, the house was quiet and my world was entirely different. In my bedroom, I gently took the gold medal from around my neck and hung it on the wall, right next to that framed photo of Mum and me with the blue ribbon, gold and blue, side by side. I stood there for a moment, just staring at them. My heart felt full, of triumph, of relief, of gratitude. So much had changed in such a short time. I went from being the kid everyone underestimated to the kid who proved them all wrong. But more importantly, I proved it to myself. I settled into my chair, muscles pleasantly aching from the day's exertion, and let out a long breath. The events of the day replayed in my mind. The finish line, Dad's embrace, the cheers. In that replay, I realized something profound. Believing in myself when no one else did was the hardest thing I'd ever done, but it made all the difference. I thought about how close I came to giving up, how easily this victory could have never happened. A chill ran through me at the thought. I opened Mum's journal on my desk and ran my fingers over a blank page, wishing I could tell her all about it. "We did it, Mum. We really did." I imagined her smiling, that proud spark in her eye, and it felt like a gentle hand on my shoulder. Not long ago, I felt completely alone in my dream. Now, it wasn't just my dream. It had become a beacon for others too. People in my town, the kids at school who doubted me, even my own father, they all saw something incredible happen when I refused to quit. I realized that sometimes you have to do the impossible to show others it's possible. Maybe someone else out there would dare to dream because they saw me achieve mine. In a way, being first wasn't just about me. It was about opening a door for everyone coming after. I lay on my bed, staring at the ceiling with a contented smile. I thought of others who might be in the shoes I was in not long ago, feeling misunderstood, ridiculed, unseen. No one else may understand your dream, but don't give up. Sometimes you have to carry the flame of belief alone, until it lights up everything around you. And when that moment comes, when you finally get to say, "I did it," all the laughter and doubt transform into awe and admiration. It's not about proving them wrong, though that part feels pretty good. It's about proving to yourself that you were right to believe. If you've ever felt unseen or underestimated, or been told that your dreams don't matter, I hope my story speaks to you. I felt invisible for so long, but you listening right now, you're not invisible. Your dreams are not foolish. Maybe no one believed me when I started, but I kept going. And you can too. I want to hear your story. Have you ever achieved something that others said you couldn't? Have you ever felt like you were shouting into the void, desperate for someone to believe in you? Share it in the comments. Let's be the support for each other that I so desperately needed when I was alone. And if this story resonated with you, if it made you feel something, then please join our community by subscribing. I'm going to be sharing more stories of struggle, resilience, and triumph, and I don't want you to miss them. Your support truly means the world to me. It helps these messages reach others who might need a reminder that they're not alone in their struggles. Thank you for listening to my journey. Remember, even when no one else believes in you, believe in yourself. Keep that spark alive. Who knows? Maybe you'll be the one to do something incredible next. After all, somebody has to do it first. Why not you? Thank you for watching. Until next time, keep believing.